by far has the best data to detect whether the capex cycle has picked up and whether new projects are being constructed. Mr. Vyas, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. Well, what is your latest report telling you? Is capex back?
I can't say that capex is back, but I can certainly say that there is no further bad news.
Oh.
So for the past few years, we have been seeing that new investments have been declining and projects getting stalled continue to do so, even at a little increased pace sometimes. On both these counts, I do not see a further deterioration. So the announcement of new investments did not drop in the quarter ended March 2017, and the number of projects getting stalled did not increase. So I think that's good news in the sense that there is no bad news.
Okay, Mr. Vyas, morning. So no further deterioration in stalled projects. That I think is good news for sure. But can you give us some numbers there? Stalled projects account for what percentage of the projects under implementation now versus what it was earlier?
So I don't offhand have the number of the percentage, but I can tell you this much, that the number of projects that were stalled in the March 2017 quarter were just 24, which is a very small number. And I know that number is 257 billion rupees, which also includes one very large railway project in Manipur. So this is a good sign that there isn't any large manufacturing unit that got stalled. And the one that got stalled was understandable. Manipur was under some stress.
Mr. Vyas, while you say that there was no further bad news in that fresh projects did not get stalled, is that in terms of number? Because in terms of lakh crore or quantum, there seems to be an uptick. New projects have jumped to 2.68 lakh crore in the March quarter from 1.42 lakh crore. Completed projects have risen to 1.26 lakh crore from 0.8 lakh crore in the previous quarter. So are volumes indicating a value of investments indicating more good news?
Well, your comparisons are with unequal quarters.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is in March quarter, it's always a quarter when you have these investment fairs all over the place. So March usually does show a spike. It's like a seasonal spike in new investment proposals. Now, if you compare the 2.7 trillion rupees that you mentioned, it's just a shade above the average quarterly new proposals. So it's not a big deal. It's okay. It's not bad. Like I said, there's no bad news. But there's one good thing, that the projects completed at 5 trillion rupees in the year as a whole and 1.26 in the last quarter are both quite good. So I think projects are getting completed, although they have been delayed for a long time. That's also a piece of good news.
For the benefit of our viewers, can you give us a comparable number on what the number of stalled projects have been on an average over the last many months? Because I think 24 projects is the lowest we've seen in a very long time, right?
Yes, it's a very low number. So I don't have offhand what the average number has been in the past. But 24 is a very low number, and even these are not really stall. Like, you know, the Manipur Bandh or economic blockade that was there around election time is what caused this project to get stalled. This is not going to go away, it'll come back.
In fact, that was my next question to you. You know, government bottlenecks were the biggest issue the last time around when we spoke to you. I think government bottlenecks accounted for almost 50% of the stalled projects. Have a lot of those issues been resolved now, and is more effort being made from the government's end?
I can't make a comment on that. I can make a comment on the following, that there is no evidence in the March quarter that government bottlenecks have held up projects.
Mr. Vyas, another statement that came out of the report is that project commissioning in FY17 was the second best in a decade. Can you give us more perspective on that?
So there has been a steady increase in the projects getting commissioned. So in the past, this used to be around 3 to 4 trillion rupees a year. And last year, it went above 5 trillion rupees. So this year is a shade lower than last year's number, but we need to wait for a few months more before this number gets completely stabilized. I think that by the time the number stabilizes, 2016-17 will be the year of the highest number of projects commissioned.
Okay.
in value
Nice.
terms.
That's good to hear, sir. So can we logically deduce that therefore Indian corporate sector will have better operational leverage because long comatose projects are commissioned, and also more financial leverage, obviously, because we have seen about a 200 basis point fall in interest rates?
Yes, insofar as new capacity is coming on stream, you are right. But the Indian corporate sector also faces low capacity utilization.
Oh, okay.
So one needs to
in
wait for demand to come up to actually solve all the problems.
Okay. You had mentioned that project commissioning has picked up compared to the last time we spoke. But can you give us a little more color on where you're seeing a sectoral pickup? Is it in terms of power? Are you seeing it in, more across automobiles, machinery, fertilizers? Some more color on that?
It is still mostly in the infrastructure sector.
Okay.
It is more to do with transport sector in infrastructure and not so much in manufacturing.
Okay.
Okay, so finally then, we started off the conversation by you saying that you don't want to commit as to whether the capex cycle has recovered or not. What, according to you, would convince you that the capex recovery is truly underway?
When the new proposal investments, particularly from the manufacturing sector, shoots up.
Right.
That's the most important indicator. I don't mind it if projects get stalled. I mean, things do go wrong. But what's important is corporates should feel like wanting to invest more capacity.
Fair point, Mr. Vyas. So we look forward to that and invite you when your next quarterly report is ready. We hope we will have more good news.